guys, welcome back to Jay vs. Horror. I hope you guys enjoyed the new intro. It's about to be 2021, so we're putting down a new vibe for a new year. And with that, I welcome you back to Jay vs. Horror, guys. I'm your host, Jay Wall, and today we're going to be taking on my top 10 favorite Part 3 films in horror franchise history. Now, recently we did Part 4, and I learned a lot from that list. What I learned about sequels is that all of them fit into just one of a few templates, right? Now, with the Part 4s, it seemed like all the Part 4s were one of a few things. They were either a total cash grab, they were, hey, let's take the whole thing in a new direction. Let's do a prequel, or let's just abandon our story completely and go to something else. Or they were, hey, did you forget about us? That type of film where it's like, you're watching all these other sequels. Did you forget about us? Right? So I also discovered that the Part 3 films come in one of just a few ways, and we'll discuss those different ways as we go. Guys, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and check out some of our other videos. They're a lot of fun too. Let's get started. At number 10, I have 3 from Hell. And before we get started with 3 from Hell, I'm just going to say this. 3 from Hell made this list because I felt like, for me, 3 from Hell is the best film of that trilogy. I truly believe that Rob Zombie is getting a lot better as a filmmaker. I mean, to be completely honest with you, a lot of his early films just feel like montages of great films from the 70s and 80s cut together and edited with some really good background music, almost like horror movie music videos. I'm also going to say that I think Sherry is getting a lot better. Now, her original character of Baby was just obnoxious. It was totally like an even more ridiculous version of Harley Quinn. I think as she's grown as an actress, her character has kind of grown as well. And in 3 from Hell, I think Baby is far more serious and far more interesting than she has been in either of the 2 previous entries. Now, 3 from Hell is a 2019 American horror film written, co-produced, and directed, of course, by Rob Zombie. It is the 3rd and final installment in the Firefly trilogy, which began with House of a Thousand Corpses, and it stars Sherry Moon Zombie, Bill Moseley, Richard Brake, and Sid Haig. 10 years have passed since the events of The Devil's Rejects in 2005, and the plot follows an incarcerated Otis Driftwood and baby Firefly being freed by Otis's half-brother after barely surviving a police shootout a decade ago. Now, 3 from Hell borrows from a lot of classic films like Natural Born Killers and Badlands and things like that, but it also kind of has its own vibe in it, and this was one of the last films that Sid Haig was in. They did a great job being able to even get Sid Haig in this movie, and then of course they kind of had Richard Brake step in as the 3rd psychotic killer in this film, since Sid can't do it anymore. And I gotta tell you guys, I love Richard Brake, man. Anything he is in, even his small part in Mandy, going all the way back to like Asylum Blackout, which is a film that nobody ever talks about. Great Rob Zombie-esque type horror film. But yeah, Richard Brake is awesome, and he kills it in this film. It's way better than the first 2, in my opinion, guys. Let's take a look at the trailer for 3 from Hell.
The search for the fugitives known as the Devil's Rejects resulted in a violent clash with police. Chances for survival are less than 1,000,000 to 1.
There's no justice in this world. I am justice.
They're trying to blame us, but we didn't do it!
Free the 3!
Free the 3! Free the 3! Free the 3!
Now we can have a real Day of the Dead.
Any last words?
I still want to party.
This is my house!
I'm just a clown dancing for the friends of mankind.
Did I just go?
This is my death factory. You are the product.
I love it. Like that.
America. Did you miss me?
At number 9, VHS Viral. Now, I'm a pretty big fan of all three of the VHS films. I think part 2 is probably the best of the three, but VHS Viral is not bad. It's a 2014 American anthology horror film from Bloody Disgusting. The final film in the VHS trilogy, created by Brad Miska, features a series of found footage shorts written and directed by great directors like Nacho Vigalondo, Marcel Samaito, Greg Bishop, Justin Benson, and Aaron Scott Moorhead, who just came off of my favorite film of 2020, Synchronic. Now, in the original VHS film, you might remember that the story focused on these videotapes that once they were found and watched, they kind of had an effect on whoever watched them and turned them evil too. So in this installment, the videotapes have gone viral. People are watching them on their phones, and all kinds of crazy stuff starts happening on the streets. We get 3 stories and a nice wrap around. The segments include the story of a deranged illusionist who obtains a magical cloak of great power, a homemade machine that opens a door to a parallel world that is not what it seems, and a group of teenage skaters who unwittingly become targets of a Mexican death cult ritual. Now, an additional segment was filmed, but Todd Lincoln's short, Gorgeous Vortex, was cut at the last minute since they felt that it did not fit the overall theme of the film. But the short is included as an extra on the film's DVD and Blu-ray release. So if you want to see that, check it out there. I like this one a lot, guys. I think the Evil Magician segment is really fun. And also the segment where they go into a parallel world and everyone kind of seems the same, but then we find out that they are vastly different. That is a terrifying segment. So let's take a look at the trailer for my number 9 pick, VHS Viral.
I love it when you record me. No, really, I do.
Tape that you brought into us. Where did you find that tape?
There's a secret compartment behind the breaker box.
Here's the good part. Want to see whose video gets more hits?
Hold on to your tickets.
It's gonna be big now.
At number 8, The Church. Now this is a strange one because The Church is officially Demons 3, but there are 2 other films out there that claim to be Demons 3, one of which was even directed by Lamberto Bava, who directed Demons. What happened was that Argento wrote a script with a few other people for Demons 3. They hired Mikel Soavi to direct the film, and when Mikel came on board, he instantly wanted to rewrite the script. Now, he wanted to take out any connection between this film and the first 2 films, but still have it be in the same universe. Argento agreed, and Soavi went back and rewrote most of the script, which was titled Return to the House of the Demons, but then became The Church. Now, this is the one that I identify as Demons Part 3. Like I said, there are 2 other films that claim that, but that's just kind of the way they did with Italian films back then. Kind of like Lucio Fulci did Zombie 2, and that was supposed to be Dawn of the Dead Part 2, the Italian version, that is. And then, of course, there are like 4 or 5 sequels to that film over there that have nothing to do with that film. It's just a way to sell the movie. So, no harm, no foul. I like The Church a lot. It reminds me of the Spanish zombie films like Tombs of the Blind Dead, but it's done on a higher level, I think. In this one, we see that hundreds of years ago, a band of knights massacre a village of supposed devil worshippers and decide that it would be a great idea to bury their bodies in a pit and build a church on top of it. And you can kind of see where it's going from there. Let's take a look at the trailer for The Church.
Last night, the angel of evil possessed me, and I became his servant. I want to do evil, to kill.
At number 7, Friday the 13th, Part 3. Now, to be honest, guys, Part 3 is not my favorite. It's somewhere around the middle of the pack for me when it comes to this franchise. But it is iconic. This is where Jason finds his mask, and you have to give the devil his due. It's a 1982 American slasher film directed by Steve Miner, produced by Frank Mancuso Jr., and starring Dana Kimmel, Paul Kratka, and Richard Brooker this time out as Jason Voorhees. So this one notedly starts right after the events of Part 2, which always kind of made me want to call it Saturday the 14th, but I believe that is My Bloody Valentine, right? Anyway, yeah. This one follows a teenage girl and her friends who go on a trip to a house near Crystal Lake, where a wounded Jason Voorhees has taken refuge until re-emerging for another killing spree. The film marks the debut of Voorhees wearing his signature hockey mask, of course, which became a trademark of both the character and the franchise, as well as an icon in American cinema and the horror genre in general. Story-wise, it's not my favorite, and Shelley annoys me to no end. I was just hoping that those bikers would get their hands on Shelley and torture him for about 30 or 35 minutes in this movie. That being said, however, it is iconic enough to make it to number 7 on my top 10 list. So let's take a look at the trailer for Friday the 13th, Part 3.
Weekends are a good time to escape to the woods. Unless the weekend begins with Friday the 13th. Because 13 is an unlucky number. But out here, so are 1 through 12. Because these are Jason's woods. And nobody leaves them alive. Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. Jason, you can't fight him. You can't stop him. And now, you can't even keep him on the screen. Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. Now, when it comes to killing in Jason's woods, Jason will come to you. Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. A new dimension in terror. It will scare you. Count on it.
At number 6, Final Destination 3. It's a 2006 American supernatural horror film directed by James Wong, a standalone sequel to Final Destination 2 from 2003, and it is the third installment in the Final Destination film franchise. Wong and Glenn Morgan, who worked on the first film, returned for the screenplay here, and I think it shows. It's a good film. Final Destination 3 stars Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Ryan Merriman, and it takes place years after the first film. Winstead plays Wendy Christensen, a high school graduate who has a premonition that a roller coaster she and her classmates are riding will derail and kill everyone. Although she saves some of them, death begins hunting the survivors. Wendy realizes that photographs she took at the amusement park contain clues about her classmates' death. With survivor and friend Kevin Fisher, played by Ryan Merriman, Wendy tries to use this knowledge to save the rest of them and ruin Death's scheme. This never seems to work out for anybody in these movies, right? They try to stop death, but we all already know that death is inevitable, so whether you stop it for a few seconds or 10 days or 10 years, you haven't really stopped it. Now, earlier we were talking about the templates for the Part 3 films. Well, this is a weird one, because for me there's a few different templates. There's the trilogy template, which we saw with 3 from Hell, where it's just the final film in that trilogy. Then there is, well, I have nothing to do with the first 2 films, and that goes with Halloween 3 and also like The Church, where the first 2 films were back to back. They were very close to the same story, and then the third one goes off in a different direction, even Hellraiser 3 to some extent, right? The third type that I see come up a lot is the second one was a mistake, so we've hired someone to fix it. That happened with Nightmare on Elm Street, where they felt like they got too far away from the first one with the second one, so then they hire a new director to come in for the third one, and he's going to clean everything up, right? They also kind of tricked Wes into coming back halfway and writing some of that script. So yeah, those are kind of the basic templates for Part 3 films. However, I don't think that Final Destination 3 really falls into any of those. It's kind of an anomaly where they know there's going to be a 4th and 5th film, so they're just trying to make a really good Part 3. And I enjoy that a lot. I think this is a really good film. Let's take a look at the trailer for the roller coaster ride that is Final Destination 3.
The ones who got off that roller coaster are still going to die. Unless we can figure out how to stop it.
I never thought I could see my own death before it happened.
At number 5, Paranormal Activity 3. Now, guys, before you crucify me for this one, just listen. I think this is the best film in the entire franchise. It's a 2011 American found footage supernatural horror film directed by Henry Joost and Ariel Schumann. Now, those are the guys who did the movie Catfish and also did the series on MTV. So they know how to do found footage horror films. That's the first key point to my argument, okay? The second one is, this is one of those films where it breaks off from the first two. It's a prequel. We're going to go back and tell you the beginning of this story, or the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. This one goes back 18 years, all the way back to the late 80s, and it tells the story of the sisters from the first two films. It shows their early childhood and their first encounter with this entity that is basically stalking their family. Paranormal Activity 3 is actually the turning point movie in this franchise because it's the first film that truly explains why all these paranormal events are happening in the first place. Being set in the 80s also makes this a very interesting film because our filmmakers here, Joost and Schumann, they have to come up with all these ingenious little tricks because it's the 1980s and everybody doesn't have these handheld digital cameras or cameras on their phone, things like that. They have to come up with cool tricks like mounting a camcorder on an oscillating fan that shows us one room and then the next in a terrifying way. Great film here, guys. Let's take a look at the trailer for Paranormal Activity 3.
Katie, Christy, say hi to the camera.
Something's going on.
What do you think it is?
Do the knocking game you showed me, remember? How do you do it?
I don't know, ask her.
I really like that trick.
It's not a trick. She's been doing it all day.
There was something in the house. Christy's like connected.
A real-life poltergeist.
She's like Carol Ann. I just gotta film this stuff. I set up my cameras around the house, right? I can maybe capture something.
Yeah.
Julie, watch. See that?
What? Oh my god. What is going on?
Hey, Christy. I saw you talking to somebody.
Kinda. He's very sweet. He's my friend.
I don't see him.
Standing right next to you.
Honey, he's not there.
This is not simply about Christy. This is connected to your side of the family.
He definitely knows about her.
Katie?
I'm worried about you and the girls.
Somebody say something! I felt like digging in my side.
Did you hear that?
It's okay.
It was scared.
Girls!
We're getting out of here. Just get in the car and drive.
At number 4, we have one of my favorites of all time, Day of the Dead. It's, of course, a 1985 zombie horror film written and directed by George A. Romero. It was produced by Richard Rubinstein. It's the third film in Romero's Dead series. When Day of the Dead starts, humanity's pretty much on the brink. Zombies outnumber humans like 400,000 to 1 at this point. And we have a small group of human beings surviving in a bunker of some sort. We have a group of scientists who are trying to figure out a cure for what's going on. We have a group of soldiers who are supposed to be protecting those scientists. And then we have a few maintenance people and helicopter pilots and things like that. We see that everyone's just sort of mixed together in this pseudo-society they've created inside this bunker. And more than likely, they are simply just waiting out the end of the world. Day of the Dead teaches us the same lessons that Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead teach us. Zombies are terrifying, and human beings suck. Alright guys, let's take a look at the trailer for one of the best special effects films of all time, Day of the Dead.
First came the night, then came the dawn. Now comes the most eagerly awaited day in horror film history. George A. Romero's Day of the Dead.
We've been punished by the Creator. We visited a curse.
Hello! Is anyone there? For the few remaining, their only hope of survival is to find a cure
You're wasting time trying to define what's happening.
But the odds are against them.
We're in the minority now. Something like 400,000 to 1 by my calculations.
And so is Captain Rhodes.
Anybody else have any questions about the way things are gonna run around here from now on?
Their one chance is Bub.
It's working on instinct. A deep, dark, primordial instinct.
But their time is running out.
They can be fooled, don't you see? They can be tricked into being good little girls and boys. The same way we were tricked into it on the promise of some reward to come.
But when the tricks wouldn't work,
They're learning. They're actually learning.
their world fell apart.
Let him go! God damn it! Or I'll cut you in half.
Shoot that woman, you're dead.
It wasn't very nice, you know. That wasn't very nice at all. You can just sit there in the dark, think about what you've done. Think about it. Think.
The dead shall have their day. Day of the Dead.
Extraordinary, isn't it?
At number 3, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. It's a 1987 American fantasy slasher film directed by Chuck Russell. The story was developed by Wes Craven and Bruce Wagner and is the third installment, of course, in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. We have an excellent cast here, including Heather Langenkamp returning, Patricia Arquette, Larry Fishburne, Priscilla Pointer, Craig Wasson, and the late, great John Saxon. Also, Robert Englund, of course, returning as Freddy Krueger. Now, guys, I'm going to be honest. I did not hate A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, but apparently a lot of people did. I was still really young when that film came out, and it's the first Nightmare on Elm Street that I did see. So, for me, there was nothing funny about it. I didn't get any of the things that people complain about with that film. It just seemed like Freddy Krueger in a possession film. And because I didn't know what to really expect from an actual Nightmare on Elm Street film, it never crossed my mind that there was anything different about that one. However, this is absolutely my favorite in the entire franchise, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. Great cast. I mean, I love the setup that they're all in this, clinic where they're trying to get help for their dreams and the problems that they're having. And this is like a feeding ground for Freddy, right? He would love a place like that where kids are having problems anyway. This one also just has a ton of iconic Freddy scenes. I mean, the Puppet Master scene, also the Welcome to Prime Time, bitch scene. A truly great sequel here, and as close as you could ever get to putting 1987 in a bottle. Let's take a look at the trailer for A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors.
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. Freddy's just around the corner.
At number 2, Alien 3. It's a 1992 American science fiction horror film directed by David Fincher. The film boasts a superb cast including Charles Dance, Brian Glover, Charles S. Dutton, Ralph Brown, Danny Webb, Lance Henriksen, and Pete Postlewaite. For me, guys, Alien 3 is one of the most underrated horror films of all time. It takes a lot of crap because nobody likes the beginning of it, because we really enjoyed the characters from the second installment, Aliens, and we hate to see that the outcome for those characters is not what we wanted it to be. Also, James Cameron spoiled us a little bit with Aliens. He put it on this gigantic, epic action-adventure level that simply couldn't be replicated again. In my opinion, they did something really smart here, which was take Alien back to being a pure monster movie. The people that are stalked in this film don't have giant machine guns or industrial hardware that they can use to take the animal out. They basically have to use what's laying around and their own wits to create a trap to try to destroy the creature. The truth is, in 1992, folks, I just don't think anybody was ready for Alien 3 to be what it was. I also don't think they were ready for David Fincher yet. It is my third favorite film in the franchise, following, of course, the original as number 1 and the sequel as number 2. But those films are so good, I don't think that takes anything away from Alien 3. Let's take a look at the trailer for my number 2 pick, Alien 3.
Here, in a world where the sun burns cold and the wind blows colder, a visitor has come. But not by herself. It started.
Come on!
The suspense is back.
And we have no weapons of any kind?
The fear is back.
Don't look back, dude! Run as fast as you can!
And most of all, the bitch is back. Alien 3.
All right, horror fans, we have made it all the way down to number 1, but before we get there, I want to talk to you for just a second about our Patreon page. Patreon is a way where fans can support their favorite small podcasts, videocasts, and other things done by artists. So while you're there looking at our page, maybe browse around and see if there's anything else you want to take a look at. For as little as $2 a month, you can become one of our Horror Hound patrons, and that will get you a lot of love on this show, and it will also get you your own personal pick. Whichever review you want us to do, whatever horror topic you want us to discuss, we will do that on our monthly patron show. We're starting that at the beginning of next month, January 2nd. Now, we've already had 3 patrons. We have Devona Patterson, who pledged $5 a month. We have Emily Dunlap, who pledged $5 a month. And we also have Tony Konopka, who pledged $4 a month. So we just want you guys to know that we truly appreciate you and love you. And thanks for helping keep our little horror channel going. For anyone else who might be interested in donating, I will put the link to our Patreon page in the description below. Just cruise down there, check it out, guys. It will also be in the comments section. You can just click on that, go straight to the page, and check it out. No pressure. If you want to help out a little bit, it will be appreciated. If not, we're going to keep going anyway. And we have made it all the way down to number 1 on this list. So let's give out our top pick for the best Part 3 horror film in horror franchise history. About choked on that one. All right, guys. At number 1, we have one of the most terrifying films of all time, damn it. This film is probably on my top 10 horror films of all time. It is The Exorcist Part 3, a 1990 American psychological horror film written and directed by William Peter Blatty. It is the 3rd installment in the Exorcist series and an adaptation of Blatty's Exorcist novel, Legion. It also stars George C. Scott, Ed Flanders, Jason Miller, Scott Wilson, and a Terrific performance here from the great Brad Dourif as the Gemini Killer. This one is set 15 years after the original film. The year that Karras died is listed as 1975 on the headstone, so that places the events of the original movie in 1975. It follows a character from the first film, Lieutenant William F. Kinderman, who investigates a series of demonic murders in Georgetown that have all the hallmarks of the Gemini, a deceased serial killer. Blatty based aspects of the Gemini Killer on the real-life Zodiac Killer, one of several serial killers who seemed to enjoy the original Exorcist. The film is adapted from William Peter Blatty's 1983 best-selling novel, Legion. So guys, if you ever get time, go read the behind-the-scenes stuff that happened with this movie. It was crazy what they went through to get this done. In the end, I'm not sure if anyone who was involved in it was particularly proud of the film, but they were wrong. It's a great horror film. It's one of the best of all time, and probably right there with Psycho 2 as one of my all-time favorite sequels, period. Let's take a look at the trailer for one of the most chilling horror films ever made, The Exorcist Part 3, Legion.
"17 years ago, an extraordinary motion picture touched our most profound, nameless fears. Do you dare walk these steps again? Death, be not proud, nor canst thou kill me. Satan grows stronger.
You believe in possession, Father?
He has found a haven.
Come to take a little blood from you, Father.
He has taken possession.
The boy had been crucified.
His web widens.
I've just never seen anything like this in 20 years.
Inside this cell,
The killer drove an ingot into each of his eyes and cut off his head.
inside a man.
Who are you?
I am no one. A man we thought had died 17 years ago.
He is inside with us! He will never get away!
Save your servant. Trust in God.
This time you're going to lose. The real terror is back. George C. Scott in William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist 3.
All right, horror fans, that's all we've got for this episode. Now, don't forget to check out our Part 4 video. I will catch up to you guys later this next week with my top 10 favorite Part 2s of all time. I've already given some of those away, right? There are a lot of great Part 3 films. I know some people will say Child's Play 3, Hellraiser 3, maybe even Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 if you like that one. And then there are some that truly hurt me that I couldn't get on the list, like Omen 3, The Final Conflict, and Insidious 3. I chose a couple other films to put in their places, but I really felt like they deserved to be on the list. So that being said, guys, don't forget to leave your comments below. Let me know what Part 3 horror films you think I missed, which ones you think should have been on this list. Maybe you're a fan of Beyond Reanimator, maybe something like that, maybe Puppet Master 3. Let me know in the comments section below where you think I really messed up on this one. Tomorrow is Monday around here, so I'll be back tomorrow afternoon with 5 more underrated horror films you can watch for free. We do that show every Monday. And then later on in the week, I'll be back with my top 10 part 2s. We'll do a few reviews in between. We're trying to get to New Year's Day when we unleash that top 10 horror film list of the last 2 decades. All right, guys. We will talk to you, as always, the next time we've got something worth talking about. Bye.